This is going to go live. And we are off to the races. Everybody, welcome back to 2 for 1 Joe Live. It is Monday, 9 a.m. It is August 8th, 2022, and I am joined by none other than my good friend, Luke Irvin. Luke, how you doing?
Doing good. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, we also are joined by Jared Leto slash Morbius, because it's always Morbin time here at 2 for 1 Studios. Yeah, I mean, dude, after last week's episode, we had so much news happen. I kind of already prepped the show like midweek last week,
Yeah.
and I feel like it was a long time ago. Like so much news has happened. I was kind of like, man, I wish we could do like an emergency episode kind of thing because so much
Definitely.
speculation, so many articles, so many things
Mm.
happening, and I'm ready to dive into it. Of course, this episode I titled it the reign of David Zaslav begins.
Right.
Which we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. But let's talk about the box office. So the box office this upcoming weekend was Bullet Train coming at 30.1 million at the domestic box office. It is 62 million worldwide. I saw Bullet Train over the weekend. You saw it too, right, Luke?
I did see it. Yes.
You said that in our chat that you weren't
Hmm.
like you were kind of lukewarm on it, right? No pun
A
intended.
little bit. Yeah.
That should be your
I
thing, by
was
the
thinking.
way. Like if you have a review meter, you're like, I'm lukewarm on this one. Sorry, go
Right.
ahead.
I was kind of thinking a lot about it more this morning, and I mean, really, it's if you have seen the series Barry on HBO, this basically felt like it could be an extended episode of Barry.
Yeah,
It
then
just
that's like
has
the
a
best
lot of
review ever. That's like the best praise ever,
Yeah,
then.
there's some similar vibes. I mean, it's like I'm a little. I think my biggest thing is like I felt like the movie did drag on a little bit too long. There's a lot of fluff in it that could have been cut out,
Yeah.
and the this movie was so hyped that some of the bigger moments just lost that appeal because I've just seen it so many times in trailers because they show this before like every movie in the theater. Every movie you see this trailer.
Sure.
So there was that appeal, and really like and again, it's out. This is going to be a spoiler. Sorry, everyone, but there is a reference to someone named Barry that you never get to see, and the whole time I'm just like, please let Barry show up at some point and let it be Bill Hader because that would have topped this movie,
That would
and
have been
never happens.
great. Yeah, I don't think that I think the world's a little too extravagant for Barry.
Yeah,
It
sure.
feels like to me that it was. I mean, it's the same director, right, as John Wick One or the co-director John
Right.
Wick One,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is right up there in the universe with John Wick and Nobody. The
Definitely
only
so.
The only because
Because
it's the same like Japanese kind of fighting
yeah.
cinema kind of thing. The only bad thing is that the actor who is he's now playing in John Wick 4, but he is like
Hmm.
the elder samurai guy in Bullet Train.
Hmm.
He's in both of those as different
Hmm.
characters. So it's like, well, that's kind of breaks that idea. But
Yeah.
I think John Wick showing up or
Oh
Bob
yeah.
Odenkirk as his character from Nobody, that would have been
Sure.
like, holy
Oh
shit, that would have
man,
been
would have been
incredible.
great. It definitely, yeah. This movie could have been elevated a little bit more. I think doing that kind of stuff, cutting down the runtime a little bit, would have like definitely bumped my rating up for this movie. But yeah, I agree. I totally get what you mean because like you're in this world where they're stopping at various points, and there's all of this stuff going on, but normal people, it's just like whatever. This is the day in the life. There's samurais, there's assassins, like whatever. We just
Yeah.
deal with it. We tell them to be quiet, knowing that they could put a bullet in my head, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I personally loved it. I thought as far as an action movie goes, it did everything that
Yeah,
I typically want. And the big thing is, I've been saying this for a little bit. We're kind of getting like an action renaissance, a little, and
sure.
we don't get movies like this often, and
Yeah,
so I feel like, I mean, whenever everything is a superhero movie or Star
yeah,
Wars or whatever, in which obviously we love here at 241 Studios, the whole
yeah,
channel's built upon that, as you'll find out here in a minute. But
yeah.
like getting a movie like this that like the action actually was paid attention to and there was some thought and care put into it, like
Hmm.
to me that's always automatically a win almost. And I thought it was a lot of fun. I love the performances in it. Tangerine and Lemon are fantastic.
I thought they
And
were great. Yeah,
yeah, and I love seeing Brad Pitt in this kind of role. And I I hope there's a franchise built upon it. I hope it does really good, and I hope it makes a lot of money. And as you see here, it opened up 30 million, and it's got 62 million worldwide, which is solid start. It's not like Marvel numbers, but I don't know the budget of this actually, so I need to look that up and kind of see where we're at.
Yeah.
But DC League of Super Pets come in at $11.2 million. I think it's its second weekend now. It has made 83 million worldwide, so it's gonna be kind of hard for this thing to break beyond 150 million. Again, it doesn't have, I don't think, China or Russia helping it out at all. And yeah, this is kind of a very soft box office here for this DC property. Again,
Yeah.
it's Super Pets. It's not. I don't know. The
Did you go
trailer's
see it?
never. No, I haven't yet. I mean, the trailer.
I went
I'm
and
going
saw
to.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about it? Yeah.
Um, I thought it was okay. I mean, it definitely fits in line with the like a traditional like comic-esque kind of story.
Yeah.
My biggest agree with it is there's a lot of jokes that I don't think should have been in this film.
Are you talking about they're like too adult or what?
They're extremely adult jokes. Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's one character in particular that the whole purpose is meant to keep the adults entertained. The kids aren't going to get it, but the thing is like older kids would probably get it, and I just think it pushes some boundaries.
Huh. Yeah, that's the trick there is like, now when you go back and watch movies that were younger, you're like, oh man, there's some jokes in here that are kind of risque for
Yeah.
adults. And
Oh
as
yeah.
kids, as kids, we didn't pick that up, but like the
Sure.
good movies like Pixar, whatever, have the ability to weave some stuff in that kind of, it's still
Yeah.
wholesome,
'Cause,
but
I
also
mean,
appeals to the
Toy
older
Story
audience.
has it. I mean,
Right.
revisiting a lot of shows I grew like Rugrats and
Yeah.
Hey Arnold and Doug and like so many
Yeah.
of those. Like
Because
it's
yeah, adults are making these shows, and they also have to entertain themselves as they're making these shows sometimes. So
Exactly.
that's kind of how it happens.
Real quick, Bullet Train budget $85.9 million.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, it needs to. I don't know if if it's had like a worldwide release yet, like it's hit all its markets.
Gross worldwide is 62.5 million.
Yeah, that's what we have
Yeah,
here.
so-
I just don't know if it's opened up in all its markets yet, but
Yeah.
it needs to make roughly 200 million. I mean, ideally it needs to make 250, 300 to get like a sequel of some sort. I don't know. I mean, at 30 million, it may. I'm hoping it has some legs. So we'll see what happens over the next 2-3 weeks. I don't think anything's really opening up that's major. But we'll see. I hope it does well. Again, I want more of these kind of movies, so just give me more. Nope. $8.3 million for its third weekend. It is sitting at 97 million just in domestic alone. It still has not released internationally yet. I actually saw it again last weekend.
Yeah.
2 weekends ago. I don't know how to say that. 10 days ago. Yeah.
So Nope's been out for a while now. What's the biggest thing you took away from it? Like, what was the thing? What stuck with you the most from like because Jordan Peele's big on like the underlining meanings of things, but like what particularly stuck out with you?
You mean like, are you asking me what do I think it's about, or are you asking
Yeah.
me what?
I mean, essentially that. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it says in the opening line, like the opening crawl, basically, it's about mankind's need and want for spectacle and how it can destroy them. How it destroys them, how it keeps us going
Yeah.
in all facets of life at the same time. So it's like a paradox almost in terms of we need it to survive and to prosper, but we also it is destructive at the same time and might lead to our ultimate demise. So that's ultimately what I think what it is. I mean,
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, and there's other layers of like animal rights and
Yeah.
putting particular kinds of people or particular things in cages and situations that make them,
Yeah.
act not irrationally, but make them, it's there's a lot to it there, but
Definitely. Yeah.
but yeah, it's ultimately the spectacle, and that's really
Yeah.
what I think it's the big thing there. What do you think?
I mean, the spectacle is definitely like the biggest piece of it, but I kind of dug in a little bit deeper because there's also the need to be first. You have this
Sure.
spectacle item, but kind of looking at the end of it when there's like they kind of make a note like once this gets out, everyone's gonna be here to get that shot.
Sure.
Like, you got to be first. You have to be first. And I just kind of took that as a jab of like essentially like a lot of what we do and like making fun of the YouTuber community. Like, everyone has to be first. Everyone wants to get their review out first. Everyone,
Oh, sure.
it's just kind of that kind of moments, and
I mean, it's straight up that the TMZ guy on the bike is a great analogy for that, because
exactly. Yeah.
he is floored. He is floored by the idea that, why aren't you recording me in misery and pain right now?
Right. Yeah.
And like, he's more concerned about that than his actual pain.
Yeah.
So it's, there is some interesting commentary. I still really enjoy the movie. It surprised me in a lot of ways, and I had a good time with it.
And like you said, it's definitely one, if I go watch it again, I'd probably focus on another particular angle and kind of really think about that. I mean, of course, the biggest mystery piece is like the shoe, but
Sure.
I'm viewing that as like spectacle. I think the whole idea of that is like to get you to come watch the movie again, to look for more clues that could decipher of like what that means.
Yeah.
When in fact, it may not mean anything, or it could be Jordan Peele of like, no, there is a meaning of it. I'm just not going to tell you what it is.
Sure. Yeah. That's the kind of the paradox there.
It kind of goes along with like the post-credit image, like announcing a Hollywood ride.
Right.
It's like, it kind of goes back to like I view the whole point of that is like, I gotta be first. I gotta be the first one on that ride. I gotta be the first one to see this spectacle, this experience.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's a good movie, and there's some pushback, and even Bruce on our previous podcast, he said he didn't like it, and I can't wait to talk to him about it, because I don't know why he doesn't like it.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Me too. Really, I am. Let's talk about a little bit of Star Wars.
Sure.
Lawrence Kasdan on Solo sequel, he said, "No, there's not any talk of that." The writer confirmed, "I've been particularly drawn to expanding Solo into a show, but I do talk to John Kasdan and Ron Howard a lot about what went right and what went wrong with the Solo experience." He continued, "I would be more interested in doing another movie, not a TV series." Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. The one thing about I can't think of his name now. The actor who Aldrin. I think his last name Henrik, or I can't think of his last name. The guy who played Solo. This kind of felt like one of those things that almost not derailed his career, but it definitely, like, you didn't see him popping up in a whole lot of stuff. He was in Hell Caesar. He was also now he is going to be, I believe, in Ironheart for Disney. So at least at least they're kind of riding.
Like he's making a little bit of a comeback. Yeah,
and it's by Disney too. So it's like, well, maybe they recognize that he was not the issue. Because I thought he did a good job. He was not the issue at the movie.
And my wife and I went and saw Hell Caesar. That was like, I feel like that's like kind of what we enjoyed that film.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Just one. Yeah, I feel like that's one that can circle back and could have like a cult following. Which is one of those like late night shows we just went and caught because it just looked interesting and we really enjoyed it. But yeah, he was really good in it. Aaron
Alderreich. I can't think of his name.
Anyway. I think he's a solid actor, but yeah, that's.
Yeah, no, it's interesting there. So I don't know. Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty here.
Did you talk about Andor any last week with the trailer?
No, we did not on the podcast at all. Oh wait, was I by myself last week on 2 for 1 Joe? I don't even remember. Okay, then yes, I did talk about Andor on the pod. Yeah, or on 2 for 1 Joe, yeah. It all blurs together for me. Last week felt like a long week.
You excited for it?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's
dude.
What's amazing is this movie. This one has not been made on the volume, and I can tell. And it's like we were so wrapped up in the volume and like how great it was and how great it was for Star Wars and all these things, and then like I felt like Obi-Wan come out. Boba Fett come out, and then Obi-Wan come out, and the volume I felt like we might have saw the volume's weaknesses in those for the first time, and it was kind of like, man, I kind of wish they wouldn't do the volume anymore. And now we have Andor doing the just practical locations, and I can tell in an immense way, and so I think it's just all about how you use it and why you use it, and so I'm super excited for it. It feels like adult Star Wars.
Yeah,
I'm in, dude. I'm always in.
I'm in. Yeah,
it looks really good. Again, Rogue One is probably the best movie that Disney has made since their acquisition of Star Wars, and this feels like it is. They kind of know that, and it feels like
Yeah.
okay, they really got to knock this out of the park. You would think though, with Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, they would also feel that way, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't feel that we got those series at
Sure.
their best
Agree.
personally.
Agree.
So Marvel, Guardians Holiday Special will release this fall 2022, and James Gunn has come out and said it will be the epilogue to Phase 4 after Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I know that Feige at San Diego Comic-Con, he come out and said that Black Panther was the end to Phase 4, and we were kind of all scratching our heads saying, well, where does Guardians fit into this? Why isn't Guardians on the timeline? And it feels like this right here is... this is the reason why they're going to kind of dub it as an epilogue, and maybe it was to not overshadow. I mean, they did bring up the holiday special a little bit at the Guardians 3 panel, but it wasn't really the focus. And so I think they kind of wanted to be like, hey, this is, I don't give it its maybe time and day more so at D23 this year. So that's interesting.
Definitely. But we don't have a firm date yet, do we?
We do not. We just know it'll be fall. It will be after Black Panther, before January 1st. That's our best thing. It could be Christmas Day. Who knows?
Yeah.
They release stuff around that time period. But also Avatar will be coming out. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. They're different demographics. They're also different properties. They could release at the same time, but they're the same company. Moon Knight Season 2, director Mohamed Diab, and Oscar Isaac seemingly confirmed Season 2. They were on like a TikTok or video, and some fans are asking them questions, and they asked Mohamed, hey, is there going to be a Moon Knight Season 2? And he says, and he pans the camera over to Oscar Isaac, and Oscar Isaac says, why do you think we're in Cairo? So it kind of almost seemingly confirms, like, I mean, they could be a cheeky response. They could just be having fun on social media. But Oscar Isaac also is someone who feels like, to me, I could be wrong, that he doesn't want to be locked down into something that he doesn't care about. And he's also smart enough to know that he can't say certain things. He's been in the Star Wars game now. He's been in X-Men. He has been in a Marvel property now. So he knows the Marvel snipers, so to speak. So I bet in some way, again, we've talked about this before in the pod or whatever, there's got to be like a timeline that Kevin Feige has that's like, okay, on July 25th, we can talk about this. We're not going to do a press release, but if anyone asks you after July 25th, you can answer casually. It's like a release order he gives everybody, and it's like, it's that way it gets peppered out in more natural ways than always having press releases. I mean, that's what I would do if he was, and I think it's what he's doing. I think he's smart about it. So, again, do you think this is confirmation we're getting Moon Knight Season 2?
I would hope so. Moon Knight was one I enjoyed. Definitely opens it up to more of the story, more of that character. That was basically teased for every episode. You don't really get anything until the very final scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I know what you mean. Like, Oscar's got some interesting projects on his plate, and he seems like he really cares about this character and building out this world and these stories. Like, I'm sure he's serious about this.
Yeah. Again, I would love to know. This is one of those things where all these Disney Plus shows, this goes all the way to Netflix and to all these other streaming services, we don't know how well these things do. We know how well they're reviewed. We kind of can get a sense online of how, people are feeling about it. We know how we feel about it, but we don't have box office numbers to kind of back up all these other claims and reports. So, maybe it could be just them trying to build hype for it. Maybe they want to return, and there's been no green light from Marvel yet. Like, hey, we'll say something and kind of get the pot stirring a little bit. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know. But I really loved Moon Knight. It's not perfect, but I personally, it's one of my favorite things that's come out of Phase 4, and I love its disconnect from the MCU.
Yeah.
And it was just a good, solid introduction to the character. So I'm all about more Moon Knight. Honestly, the more the better. I'd rather have him than some of these characters that are popping up. Yeah. Eternals sequel confirmed. So Patton Oswalt mentions Pip's return for Eternals 2. And also he mentions that Chloe Zhao will be returning to direct. So he says in like some interview, I think on ABC News or something, he said they have announced there's going to be an Eternals sequel. Chloe Zhao is going to direct it. So hopefully there will be more adventures of Star Fox and Pip. Now, question real quick. So the first movie made 164.9 million, and then it worldwide made a little bit over 400 million. Now we know this was at the height of the pandemic, or not the height, but this is like, you know, we're really
Yeah.
going to kind of test the waters and see how these Marvel movies can do. We had Shang-Chi, then we had Eternals in November. So it's kind of like these things are not going to be making the money that they normally would have been making. And this is also after Black Widow had come out that previous May, and it was kind of like, look, they're going to, and like that whole scuffle there with paying the actors and like domestic or release versus streaming release. So they almost like had to release these movies in theaters. So I think with those numbers, it is like domestically right above Incredible Hulk. Like it's like the second lowest MCU movie. And it also is the worst reviewed MCU movie. So I think it's the only rotten MCU property there is. So, do you think Patton Oswalt, this is like, does he know what he's talking about? Because we know there's no Eternals 2 announcement, and he says they have announced
Yeah.
it. So, did he let it slip? Is he just mistaken? What's
Maybe
going on?
the only other news I've seen that could tie in with this is I did see something circulate with Harry Styles and being locked in with like more projects
Sure. Yeah, they always
with
have
Marvel.
6, picture
So
deal. I know they've gotten away from that a little bit, but they're at least doing like a 3-picture deal when they're signed on for
yeah,
these projects. Like, hey, here's your cameo in
right.
Eternals, then you have two more whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, did you like Eternals? I can't remember if you liked it or not.
No, I didn't. I think as at this time on my letterboxed MCU ranking, Eternals is at the very bottom
Really, out of all of them, more than Dark
out of all
World.
of them. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, Daniel didn't really care for it. I had no anticipation for this movie. I didn't care about the characters. I had no connection to them. But when I watched it, I was like, I enjoyed it. Like I like the visuals to it. This story is kind of weak, and some of the character, but I
Yeah.
enjoyed the characters and their interactions for the most part. So I was kind of like, what, I'll watch another movie. And my big thing is my boy Dane Whitman, aka Kit Harington. So I was down for that 100%. So I was like, okay, if we get another one, I'd prefer to see them in other properties, not get an actual sequel, because I feel like
Yeah.
they feel a little disconnected to the MCU just in terms of like costumes and they're supposed to feel that way for a reason. But
Yeah.
I'm fine either way. But I feel like they have to come back in some way, and they will, to
They
kind
will
of wrap
come
up
back,
some of
yeah.
these threads that the Marvel has kind of introduced.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds begins training for Deadpool 3. Nothing super important there other than that he is, posting on his social media saying like, hey, he's back into the gym and he's getting ready. We know that, I can't think of his name now, but the guy who directed, god dang, Adam Project and one of the producers on Stranger Things and all these other things, he's coming in to direct Deadpool 3 with the same writers previously. We did see
Okay.
also that, what's her name? Zaza Beats? Is that right? Zaza Beats?
Zazie Beat. Yeah, yeah.
Zazie Beats, yeah. They asked her, like, I think yesterday, hey, are you returning for Deadpool 3? She said, well, I don't know, but I feel lucky. So it kind of felt like almost all but confirmation that she will be back in some
I
form.
thought I did see a confirmation that she's back, but
Yeah, she kind of had played cool yesterday with the kind of like a cute answer.
Yeah.
Because her character, Domino, is all about luck, right?
Right.
I would really be curious to see if Cable appeared in Deadpool 3 or not.
Yeah.
Because I think that's obviously a big team up and everything else, and I don't know. I mean, I would love to know. And also, Josh Brolin, he got into really good shape for that movie, and he still maintained some of that, but it takes a lot. So I really wonder if he's coming back in some form, and it'll be interesting because he's also Thanos, and he'll be actually in the MCU for the first time. So,
Yeah.
which will be interesting. Okay, let's get into DC, which is going to get to the meat of our stuff today, I think. So, Colin Farrell on Penguin HBO Max show. He says Matt's up to his bollocks, hovering over the keyboard and just planning the story because he's just so meticulous. He's so obsessive about what he does, but he's all over HBO Max's The Penguin series as well. I mean, he's not going to direct it, but he's all over the structure of the scripts and who's going to direct them, and so it's exciting. Okay. This kind of ties into our next stuff, but one thing, I hope we get this show. Question, do you think
Yeah.
we are going to get the Penguin show now?
So that's a great question, because that's the big concern is with Zaslav saying that they are triple checking everything that's being created to determine will we release it or not. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, what is this going to do for Matt Reeves and the Batman and the future films projects that he wants to work on to build out this universe? In talking with my wife about this, she's like, at this point, why don't, if they're going to reboot everything, just reboot everything. Don't release the Flash. Don't release anything. Just kind of do it and do it right. So it's like, where does this put the Batman and everything? Is that going to be the new foundation and we're going to build from that? Or is it truly rebuilding everything?
I don't know. I mean, we can get into this in a second, but I do want to say that I rewatched The Batman again on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And I have issues with it. It's still my second favorite movie of the year.
I guess what's your core issue with it?
It's narrative stuff. It's only narrative stuff. I mean, visually, the score, the acting, the production design, set dressing, 10 out of 10. I love it. I think it's great. Suit, Batmobile, I love it. It's just the last act. I mean, I said it to my buddy Luke, who watched it with me over the weekend. I'll tell my other buddy Luke. I'll tell. It just a good Riddler story. You have to have the pieces of the puzzle come together, and you have to give the hero the ability to figure out the puzzle all along. He doesn't get that opportunity. There's no indication of these first couple murders that he's going to flood the city and have a team of other Riddlers be at this this convention center. You have to layer that in, because that's the thing. I could have caught this maybe in the beginning or the second murder, but the Riddler outsmarted me. That's what's smart. And the Riddler just pulls a rug like, hell, here's my actual master plan. Has nothing to do with killing the first, whatever. Yeah. I know he's cleaning up Gotham and he's flooding the streets, and I get the symbolism of water is going to purify this location, but it's not strong enough narratively. Also, him going after Bruce Wayne makes no sense. I love how it's structured. I love how he goes after the tower, and it's revealed that Alfred is already been injured. I love that. I think some people have issues with that. I think it's like a Silence of the Lambs callback in a way, and I did it in my thesis. I think it's a fun way of storytelling that just kind of adds a little bit of edge and tension, and kind of I like that. But it makes no sense that he goes after Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne was a kid when all this stuff happened with the renewal, and also he's not like the rest of them. It starts breaking the Riddler's psychology in terms of why he's doing what he's doing. Yeah, he's going after these powerful rich politicians who actually are doing bad things, and he's going after Bruce Wayne because he's a proxy to Thomas Wayne, who he thinks is doing bad things. Yeah, so it's that's weak, right? And that's only there because they want this fake out issue with the Riddler or whatever, with him knowing his identity. It would be more okay if the Riddler actually knew his identity, and it's okay, now that makes more reason why you did this. You wanted to flesh Batman Bruce Wayne out, and you were you did that on purpose, but they weren't ballsy enough to go to actually dig down deep on that, and they should have been. One of the most egregious things they did was if you have the Riddler, the best way to defeat the Riddler is to have the Batman outsmart the Riddler. That's always how you do it, and that's always the fun way of doing it, right? I get the Riddler, again, he doesn't really outsmart him. He just doesn't give him enough information to figure out the plan. So it doesn't really. So the thing is, Batman should always come back, and there should be a final riddle, and it's fuck you, bitch, I'm Batman, and I'm gonna out-riddle your ass. That's always how it should go. Yeah. And with the Riddler, and it didn't. And also, I'm not sold on Barry Keoghan's Joker yet. I just think that's a weak version of him. So but again, it's still right now my second favorite movie of the year. I I have problems with it on a narrative sense. And that's the thing is like my hype for it was so high, and I wanted to walk away that movie thinking it was the second coming of Christ. I really did. But watching it and then seeing the narrative like kind of break away in the final act, and just kind of seeing how, oh, these pieces aren't going the way that I would have done them, or going a way that I think makes the story more interesting. You know, it's like it's taking, again, it looks great, but it's literally like, oh, hey, you hear what's your reference? It's Seven. What's your reference? Zodiac. What's your and like those movies did those things better. You know, it's in like and people love those things because kids in our age or whatever probably haven't seen Seven because they're not like movie buffs, and so they think it's the best new thing ever. It's like, well, Seven did it first, and Seven did it better, you know, and Zodiac did it first, and Zodiac did it better. So it's like when you are copying those things, you have to nail everything else, and to me, it didn't nail the story at the end. I think the first 30 minutes of it or first hour really is almost perfect. Like I love it. I'm enthralled with it, but it just, I think it goes by quick too. I don't think it feels like 3 hours to me. Like I'm engrossed the entire time. I've seen it like six times now, I think 6 times. So anyway, that's my long answer, Luke. I'm sorry.
No, I love it.
I know you like, I think it's your favorite movie of the year still, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you disagree with me? It's okay to disagree with me.
No, I mean, I totally get your point. I think the one thing I look at is like the whole thing with the Riddler tie with like Bruce Wayne. You know, I kind of lean on that like Green with Envy. Just kind of watching this boy grow up that was kind of like me, but really was given everything, and just kind of like that just kind of digs into his core of like what pushes him.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I get your narrative issues, you know, and I see them as well, and I, you know, but I still love it.
I get it. No, and like the whole movie is trying to make they're parallel. Like, I mean, there's even in the opening, we see the Riddler's point of view, and as he's fixing to murder, I think the current mayor, and then I could be wrong, but then we have, or maybe it's the DA. I can't remember who he kills in the beginning, but then you have Bruce Wayne watching Selena Kyle. His point of view is the same type of movement, the camera shots. I mean, it's like it's mimicking, right? They're both orphans. They both, you know, I mean, they're both messed up by the system, particularly probably the Falcone and Maroni and all these people. So I mean, it's I get that. I think it could have been stronger. Ultimately,
well, let's get to writing. Let's start writing.
Could have wrote a better Batman movie. Fun fact.
Let's do it.
Seriously, could
have. Let's do
it. So let's get into the main topic of the week here. Batgirl has been canceled and has been shelved by David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's go through some beats here real quick so we can catch everybody up if you didn't know this. So this is probably like, again, we knew this the second it happened, but maybe most of the movie-going audience didn't even know a Batgirl movie was on the table. But here we go. It scrapped $90 million. It was originally $70 million, but it ballooned up to $90 due to pandemic and reshoots and everything else. It is not getting HBO Max release or a theatrical release. The cast and the crew were blindsided by this news. Apparently, according to a couple of sources, it is reportedly a mess. Others report that it had a 60% test score, which was the same as Shazam 2, which has not released yet. And I saw yesterday it also had a similar test score to Black Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's kind of, we're getting conflicting reports here on the quality of the movie. Some people say they watched it and it's not as bad as others saying. Some people say that it felt like a CW TV show. It's hard. It's how do we know, you know? So, I mean, I've seen movies that are made for $10 million that look very cinematic. I've seen movies that are made for $200 million that, like Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm like, it looks not that great because you have a lot of CGI. So it really boils down to how you use the camera and how you use all the resources you do. So I would love to know if it actually is decent or not. Additional info. Apparently, it will save $15 to $20 million from a tax write-off. They apparently determined that instead of releasing it, they can get a tax write-off on it. There's an acquisition of Warner Brothers by Discovery that allows them to take advantage of a purchase accounting maneuver that allows them to not not to have to carry over the past losses on its books as they attempt to find $3 billion in what's described as cost-saving synergies. So it sounds like they were looking at the books. David Zaslav is really trying to tighten up the money here and to get the house in order.
I saw the goal was to basically save $1 billion. That's his goal, is to kind of get that resource back. And this was kind of the first
chopping block, right? I know we already know that they next Wonder Twins movie. They've done this. And let's just see. Here's what their official reaction or statement regarding the movie was. The decision to not release Batgirl reflects our leadership's strategic shift as it relates to the DC Universe and HBO Max, reads the statement via Hollywood Reporter. Leslie Grace is an incredibly talented actor, and this decision is not a reflection of her performance. We are incredibly grateful to the filmmakers, and we hope to collaborate with everyone again in the near future. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Of course, the directors, they have shared not only an email from Kevin Feige saying, hey, we can't wait to work with you again. Sorry that this has happened. Michael Keaton has also sent them a Batman Returns like movie book when he signed, saying like, hey, I loved working with you guys. You know, best of luck kind of thing. So it's like they're getting support behind the scenes, and they're being very open. They've even shared an image of Batgirl and Michael Keaton's Batman from the movie wearing a different costume than his original 89 version. And that image alone looks pretty solid.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie to me.
I did see someone take that image and kind of turn it into a meme that basically what happened with Deadpool.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw this kind of circulating where it was basically like, you know, if you remember Deadpool, it always felt like, I think that movie may have not been released, but things were leaked and leaked and leaked. And like,
it's almost like known that the directors or Ryan Reynolds himself leaked the test footage. It's almost like confirmed. Almost.
And that was kind of like basically the thing is like, hey, you should totally keep leaking images because, you know, it'll probably get released.
Yeah, that's the hard part is because this is a little different situation than Zack Snyder's Justice League because they're getting a tax write-off on this. So it's like the government is giving them money to basically not release the movie. And if they do release it, I don't know how that, like, I don't know if they can legally anymore. And also it will go back into what deals do the stars and the talent and the crews, and also they're going to have to finish the movie. Apparently they were pretty close to being done. Also, I mean, they shot it last fall, early this year. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. Was I ever excited about Batgirl? Not really. I mean, like I was excited to see Michael Keaton. I was excited to see Brendan Fraser as Firefly. I think it's a great villain. I just think that, you know, and it was interesting because The Flash was supposed to reset the timeline, and we were going to get, you know, Michael Keaton in the Batman, in this universe as Batman. We weren't sure yet if Ben Affleck's Batman was erased or if he just retires or what. But now, like we reported last week, that Ben Affleck has returned for Aquaman 2 to reshoot Michael Keaton stuff. So now we have 2 Michael Keaton movies that have been scrapped. Like, or at least the scenes have been scrapped. And like they're out there. Can you imagine that there's a Michael Keaton movie scenes as Batman that we haven't seen or we might not ever see? Like that, like
it's very disappointing.
What kind of world do I live in where it's like in a vault somewhere and I'm like, I can't watch this? That upsets me, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's wild to me. And it's also wild that Ben Affleck is agreed to come back for Aquaman. Maybe he realizes, hey, this needs to work for the Flash movie to work. Because, you know, now the Flash is coming out afterwards, but it's still like, what? Like, it's just like, we'll get to that in a second. Just real quick, let's break down Batgirl some more. So apparently here's how Michael Keaton factored into the movie. It's unconfirmed, but here's the reports. He had 5 scenes. He was in costume twice, one time to tell her to stop doing this, another time to at the very end of the movie. So it was the last scene of the movie, actually, them teaming up, them jumping off the Gotham gargoyles and like spreading the wings and flying off together through Gotham as teammates, right? So that was kind of the end of the movie. Apparently she, this is kind of similar to her comics origin too. She goes to like a Halloween party dressed up as a Batman, and she gets mugged or something, and she's like, I can do this too, kind of thing. And so that's how she becomes Batgirl. So that was kind of the, how he factored into movies. So maybe he wouldn't have been in a whole lot, but it still would have been cool to see him return. I mean, like, how do you not want to see that?
I want to see that now.
I know.
I'm ready. Give it to us. Come on, like.
And this is honestly unprecedented because it shows that. I mean, here's what ultimately what it does. It's that it's saying that David Zaslav's like saying, hey, we're not just going to give you money to make a movie, and we're not automatically going to release it if we don't think it's up to our standards.
Yeah.
I do think that if he thought it was going to make... there's two things. Either the movie was just not good, and it was going to hurt the brand, because DC has been in shambles in terms of like its direction, its cohesiveness, all those kind of things. I do see like them saying, okay, this might make its money back. It might even net us $40-50 million after everything's done with. But will the reception to it, will all these things hurt the Batman brand overall and will make us lose $100, $200, $300 million down the road? I could see that argument. I also wonder, if it's out on HBO Max like the original plan was, how does that not drum up interest and like things for your platform? And it also kind of feels like HBO Max may have a shelf life now, that they might be just rolling back into HBO app and combining that with or combining it with Discovery Plus, which also is very sad to me because I love HBO Max. Like, I love its interface, I love the way it looks, I love its color scheme. I think it's the best streaming service, actually.
Same. It's
and
definitely surpassed Netflix.
Yeah, and I'm like,
yeah,
kind of like, man, I don't want this to leave. This is a good thing. Like, don't take this away from us, Zaslav.
Yeah. Obviously,
if it's better, fine. But it's also like, I don't know, HBO Max rolls off the tongue now. And part of that is because we've been saying it for a long time. I think when the name first announced, we were like, that sounds stupid, HBO Max. Sure. But now we're like, HBO Max. It's just how it works with branding and marketing. I don't know. I think that, so there's that part of it, right, about protecting the brand. The other thing is like, we talked about this last week, is that David Zaslav got Alan Shorn out of retirement to come and be like the creative, I think, director of the production side of things for the Warner Brothers movie slate. He was also one of Kevin Feige's mentors and one of the people that kind of went to bat for him at Disney against not Bob Iger, but I can't think of his name. Other guys at Disney that were kind of basically squeezing Feige a little bit. So Bob and Alan really kind of helped Feige do what Feige does best, which is, show run these movies, give him creative freedom, but also like make sure they're cohesive, right? And so now we have Alan Shorn over there with David Zaslav, and he's going to kind of find a Kevin Feige. He's going to find someone to start this, now they're saying this 10-year plan of DC movies. And so it looks like here's some of the things that are potentially, we'll see what happens with. So Supergirl is likely next to be on the chopping block. It's kind of rumored now that she is not going to be. It's Sasha Cal, I can't think of her full name, was Supergirl in The Flash. I think that there's rumored that when The Flash comes back to the prime timeline, that she would be in the universe, right? But now it's saying that potentially it's going to be Superman again and not Supergirl. And it could be Man of Steel. Or it could be our boy Henry Cavill. And so that's probably likely to be on the chopping block because, I mean, do I want a Supergirl movie? Fine, sure. I'm not dying for it, but I do think you need to have Superman first.
Yeah.
Before you have Supergirl. And we had Man of Steel, that was almost 10 years ago we had Man of Steel. Which is wild. Blue Beetle, is Blue Beetle next? Apparently, during the transition here, Blue Beetle was an HBO Max movie, but they decided that will go theatrical. This is like right when David Zaslav come on. So they saw something with Blue Beetle that thought, no, we can make this theatrical. So maybe it is a quality versus quantity thing. And so you wonder, but you also wonder, will they next it? And the director is solo tweeting people being critical of Warner Brothers. So does he know something? Does he know his movie's coming next? Is he trying to get ahead of the gun and give them pressure that not to cancel his movie? I mean, Blue Beetle is not one of the big three. He's not Batman, Wonder Woman, or Superman.
Right.
So, I mean, Blue Beetle makes sense. It's kind of like Moon Knight or Scarlet Witch or The Vision. Like, you bring in those kind of characters after you get your Justice League, after you get your Avengers right first. So, will that continue? We had our Black Canary movie. I think it was on also HBO Max. That had the same actress from Birds of Prey. More than likely, that will not continue. There is the Green Lantern show that I think Greg Berlanti of the Arrowverse was developing for the CW or for HBO Max, and I doubt that will continue. Like, how do you make a $100 million Green Lantern show? Like, that's going to be an expensive show, and that will probably go back to being a movie at some point. Static Shock show that Michael B. Jordan was producing, I doubt that will continue. We have Aquaman 3. It almost feels like they may just erase. I mean, it made $1 billion, so it's one of those things too. Like, well, they might want to keep Aquaman, Jason Momoa around, right? But how far is the slate going to be cleaned? Wonder Woman 3, Patty and Gal Gadot have not really talked about this movie other than we're working on it.
Very quiet on that, which is surprising. A lot of the fans are like, "Where's our update? Like, do we have a story yet?"
Exactly, and there is heavy rumors that Wonder Woman's going to be in Shazam: Fury of the Gods. That he has a crush on her or something like that. So will she be in that? And so it's interesting.
Circling back real quick, I saw this morning that, and I need to find the source, but that Amber Heard will be in Aquaman 2.
Still, interesting.
So how is that going to potentially affect the viewership? Are people going to, not want to see it because of all the recent stuff going on?
I think it might honestly help the movie. I think people will go watch it because she is in it and they want to see her scene in it so they can destroy it or whatever. Maybe, she's not great in Aquaman 1. They have really bad chemistry in that movie. Which Walter Hamada testified to on the stand at the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, that they didn't have good chemistry. They had to find the chemistry in the edit, which is not great, right?
Oof. That's not good.
It's not great to say also on the stand. And it sounds like they want Superman as the priority, the beacon of the universe, which is, yes. I mean, granted, they tried this with Man of Steel. That's how this all got started. But they kept changing directions. And also there was, I think we mentioned this last week, that Warner Brothers recognizes Whedon's Justice League as the prime Justice League movie. It's not Zack Snyder's that is in the prime canon. So again, I don't know the 10-year journey. What does that mean? Does that mean it feels like they're continuing with the Flash? They got $200 million in it. They even said last week that they've seen all three of those movies, Aquaman 2, The Flash, and Black Adam, Shazam, that they're all fantastic. And so they're committed to releasing those in theatrical releases. Also, they've sunk a lot of money into all four of those movies.
Yeah.
And that's what's wild is that you have, like, Leslie Grace as Batgirl, and she seems like a really nice, caring person, a good actress. She was in Into the Heights, and there's been no drama about this movie, not really. And then you have Flash, Ezra Miller over there, destroying the world. There was more allegations just a couple of days ago about him potentially running a version of a cult.
Yep.
More stuff. Yeah.
Saw that, and then saw something else this morning about other hearsay things during The Stand.
Oh yeah, the FX show.
It's just it's not going to end.
No, it's not going to end. And so it's like, how do you? I mean, I'm sure they're just like, it's probably their biggest asset at the moment is Ezra Miller's The Flash. How do you navigate that? It's a we've talked about it a lot ad nauseum. It's a complicated issue, but it feels like they're going to release that, because for money reasons, and they're scrapping Batgirl. So I just don't see why. I do see why. It's the bottom line issue, because they still got to market Batgirl on HBO Max. All these they got to sink another 40 something million into marketing, whatever. But I just really take the bite. You also made this movie with the directors and the cast and the crew, and you made. I mean, I get it. It's not they own the movie. It's their money to spend. They can make these decisions. But also, I feel like, hey, you kind of when you. I don't know. I feel like they need to release it also just for. I don't know. There's a couple things. I'm kind of conflicted. I want them to release it because I want to see it. I don't care if I,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. But then also I'm like, I respect the hell out of Zaslav that he is
Mm-hmm.
trying to protect the brand and trying to get the ship in order, right? Like
Yeah.
I like that. Like that signals to me like, okay, maybe we're gonna get the DC universe that we always wanted and dreamed of,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we might not still. We might still get a trash of pile of shit, but I don't suspect them canceling the Batman 2. It made $850 million, and whether I have issues with it or not, the majority of the public, I mean, the movie is well made. You can't give them that. Like it
Yeah.
looks more well made than it looks more like a cinematic movie than the Flash, Black Adam, Shazam. All like it looks like an
Mm-hmm.
artistic movie in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, and it looks like quality, right? And I even if you have narrative issues with it, like I do, you can't deny that the movie is seeping with quality in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So I see it, and it kind of started a new franchise for them, and it made again. Batman Begins made like $400 million, or 450 when it came out, and The Dark Knight made $1 billion, and Dark Knight Rises made $1.1 billion, or right above $1 billion. So it's like it's made more than Batman Begins did, and you also got to understand we just come off of Batman v Superman, which was not well received, off
Yeah.
of Justice League, which was not well received,
Not,
and
yeah.
then the scandal of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was well received, but still, I mean, like you've got a lot of tarnished Batman time in there, and the Batman
Mm-hmm.
come in and against all odds during during still like what would some consider a pandemic, it still made $850 million worldwide. With the new
Yeah.
Batman, it's got to prove a lot, So it did very well,
Yep.
in my opinion. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very curious.
I'm very curious.
Yeah, there's
But
a lot. It's a lot.
it's a lot going on. But the unfortunate thing is I am expecting a high majority of these to get the axe.
I do too. I think
Yeah.
I see Wonder Woman 3 being canceled. 84 was not well received. It was also
No.
dropped on HBO Max the same day, so it did not make much money at all. I mean, it's a weird time. Like, how do you gauge these movies' success?
Yeah.
And that movie also has a lot of narrative issues. I mean, of course, I own it. Blah 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 blah. But it's got it's got problems, and
And that was the other note I saw in their kind of announcements is that they're gonna look back into the releasing 45 days on HBO Max after theatrical. Like they're gonna determine more into if that will happen or not.
yeah. Again,
Very.
I don't know what if HBO Max will be a thing a year from now. I really don't.
Yeah, it may not. It may get HBO Max get
It may get
shelved.
the max. It is called the home box office. That's what HBO stands for. And
Yep.
so I wonder. I don't know. I'm very curious. And yeah, we kind of talked about it a second. The Flash producer Barbara Michietti says all is good in the Flash land. People are retweeting and asking, is the Flash going to get canceled? And she responded with that, which is Andy Muschietti's wife, also producer of the movie. So it seems like at least, hey, the Flash is still coming out. Again, it's $200 million movie, and it feels like this could be the reset. I mean, I could see them still having conversations where they're going to reshoot the end, where Cavill Superman's there, Ben Affleck's Batman's there. We basically restart the universe again like that.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm curious. I don't know. But then again,
And the,
if you do that, you're still tying yourself to all those old movies. So I don't know
yeah.
if that
Yeah.
is enough of a clean slate or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet your ass they've had conversations like how could we bring in Pattinson's Batman? Like how could we
Yeah.
would they be open to that? Those worlds do not collide at all. But one of the cool things about Marvel did is that they all have a similar palette, so it's easier. But that was kind of the fun part. It was like they all had different tones and different themes and different whatever, and they brought them together and they could play with that. And when they went back to their solo movies, they would have back into their grim and dark or what they went back to their world, so to speak, in the cinematically. So I think it's possible that you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I did think a lot about that in terms of like if the Batman is going to be now the starting ground of rebooting everything. There's the talks of bringing in these fantastical villains and characters, and I think we've kind of touched base on this in the past. It's like, well, why if the Batman is going to restart everything, could you bring in like Green Lantern next and try to do that, give that more justice? and then after that is bring in Superman and have that, get more of that foundation to bring in like Wonder Woman and
Yeah.
Aquaman and
Well, it's kind
so
of
many other
also the
characters.
the issue too is though that like Man of Steel was made before The Dark Knight Rises come out, I believe, and so that was made with like Christopher Nolan
Hmm.
as a producer, right? And David
Hmm.
S. Goyer, the same writer as the Dark Knight trilogy, or at least partly as the writer for this movie. And they kind of took the dark and grittiness of the Batman movies because everyone loved those movies so much and tried to make it
Yeah.
where it looks like this could be inside. Even the structure of Man of Steel is similar to Batman Begins with like
Hmm.
the back and forth, flashbacks and everything else. And so it's like they're trying to like make it feel like it could be in the same universe, but of course they end up making Man of Steel like the reboot, right?
Hmm.
And so I think it'd be a mistake again to make all the DC movies look like the Batman. Like they need to have
Yeah.
their own distinct visual flair. Superman needs
Sure.
to be bright and colorful, and like it needs to be
Yeah.
hopeful. It needs to be. They can't make Man of Steel like they did beforehand. Even
Yeah.
though even though I love that movie, they can't do that again.
Hmm.
It was detrimental to the film ultimately, and also to the universe. I mean, Zack Snyder's Justice League is fucking dark and like just visually dark. I mean, like compared to Avengers or whatever.
Yeah.
So it needs to be more mainstream in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Um,
Man, I rewatched like older Superman, Reeves
yeah,
Superman.
dude. Fuck yeah.
Because like after watching DC League of Super Pets, like my boys were like really, like one of my kids got really into Superman. I was like,
Heck
we need
yeah.
to revisit this. That movie is something special, just because
Dude, it
I
is.
forgot how dark it starts out. Like it starts out
Yeah.
really dark, and it's just kind of
Did you watch the director's cut or did you watch the original?
whatever's on HBO Max.
Okay.
I don't know if it's director's cut, but
I'm not sure either.
the transition from that into Superman landing on Earth and just the change of everything, it's just that movie hits different, man. it's
Dude, those
that's
first
what we
45
need.
minutes is. I love the whole movie.
Yeah.
It's fucking ballin'. Like,
Yeah.
I watched it for its anniversary 2 years ago. It's like 45th anniversary, I believe, or something like
Hmm.
that, in theaters. And it was like it's 4K restoration and everything. And I was just like, God damn, this movie is awesome. Like I've always loved
Yes.
that movie, but having
Same.
Marlon Brando as Jor-El and having Terrence, I think it's Terrence Howard, or I can't remember his name, but as
Hmm.
Zod and all them being sent to the Phantom Zone, and then having Clark grow up in Smallville and him running against the train or the bus, and
Hmm.
then you having Lana Lang and you have Lois Lane as a kid, on the train, and like his dad passing away, and him screaming and throwing like it's all fantastic. It's
Yeah.
like pitch perfect. And I mean, there's a reason why Kevin Feige has said this multiple times. Every time they go to make a new Marvel movie, they have a screening of Superman the movie first.
Hmm.
Every time. That movie has heart, humor, and spectacle. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
And it feels big, and it's like how it's a perfect blueprint to how to do a superhero movie. I mean, it's
Right.
got in its time, it's got cheesiness, and it's got Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is he's playing it up, all these kind of
Hmm.
things. The plot is it's very comic booky, but
Hmm.
it is something special. Christopher Reeve knocked it out of the park as Superman. His Clark
Yeah.
Kent, his Superman is perfect. He killed it.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
It's one thing that I kind of always wished. You always expect Superman, his Clark Kent, to be like the bumbling character, right? Because
That's
of
100%. That's what I was talking. I was just like, why couldn't we have gotten this? Just the clumsiness, just like I want to put myself in this position to make you focus more on me just being like this nerd. Just
yeah, that's the fun
talk.
part.
I can't talk properly. I step over myself. Like I don't have it all together.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, again, it's it's the thing like the glasses typically are like what separates him from Superman,
Yeah.
but I mean, even in Smallville in that last episode, Tom Welling, he does an amazing job as the bumbling Clark Kent. And then when he walks out as Superman, it's like he did a great job in that those couple of scenes he had at the end there. And I always want to see Cavill come in and bring in that bumbling Clark, right? And I know
Yeah.
that they were trying to make it, more, I guess, realistic and less not goofy, but there's a way of doing it that it
Yeah.
feels iconic and it feels special. I mean, like,
Yeah.
and that's what I always wanted was that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're right. That's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen that or Superman 2, which Richard Donner, my top 5 directors of all time, he directed the first
Mm.
one. There is a version of his of the second one, but then Dick Lester directed the second one, and they're
Mm.
both a lot of fun. And I
Mm-hmm.
recommend people checking those out if you haven't. Joker 2, Folie à Deux, has been given an October 4th, 2024 release date, and Gaga and Phoenix have been confirmed for the sequel. So, yeah, I mean,
Got a
give it
new.
to me.
There is a new promotional image of Gaga that released this morning.
I saw that. I didn't know if it was actually a. Is
I
it
feel
actually
like that's I think it's accurate. I'm pretty sure it's accurate.
Let's see. Do-do-do-do-do-do. I don't see anything. Oh, yeah, there is one thing we didn't talk about Marvel wise. Charlie Cox is Daredevil. His costume is released through the She Hulk stuff.
Yeah.
It looks pretty dope. I mean, it looks like the
I'm
Netflix
excited.
costume with a repaint job. So
Yeah.
give it to me now. That's all I say.
Next week. Next week.
God, you're right. It is next week.
Kick off She-Hulk.
Let's go ahead and kind of wrap this up real quick. One,
Sure.
the working title for Godzilla versus Kong is Origins. Are we getting Son of Kong? Or are we getting Son of Godzilla? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you care either? Did you like Godzilla versus Kong?
Man, I wanted to like it so much more. Just two iconic monsters fighting big screen. It is. It's a fun watch. It's not a great movie by any means. It was very predictable, setting things up. I think it set up stuff too early. I would have liked to see, Mecha Godzilla later on. I wish it focused more on just Godzilla and Kong.
Yeah.
And of course, the struggle with these films is just the human interaction and these sub stories and the missions that they're on. It gets messy. I think I'm more excited about Apple TV's Godzilla series coming out than I am for this film.
Which has Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell in the show.
Yeah.
Pretty good gets right there. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue with Godzilla versus Kong is the human side of the story. I mean, again, you don't come to these movies for the human part, but Godzilla particularly, there was 8 minutes of Godzilla, I think, and the human element's pretty strong because he's not really in it, and they kind of really focus, I mean, compared to normal, they kind of focus on these characters and their perspective of this event happening.
Sure.
Kong versus Kong Skull Island, I enjoyed the human elements to it. I think, Tom Hiddleston, Brie
I like
Larson.
that one more, yeah.
I love that movie. I still love Kong Skull Island. Godzilla 2, I think the human element's pretty strong. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown, her mom, I can't think of his name, but the dad who's Friday Night Lights, and he's fantastic. He's always fantastic in Super 8. And so I was like, I dig this too. Like, I like this, the human side of this too. And also the action was just fucking balling in Godzilla 2. The worst part of Godzilla versus Kong was it was like the weakest one story-wise for the humans.
Yeah.
Again, it's not why you come to these movies, but that was the weak thing. I mean, I'm down for either of these things, like Son of Kong or Son of Godzilla. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm not really super tied into the MonsterVerse in terms of like the original Japanese versions and stuff like that. So it did well enough. So I'm curious. Last thing we'll talk about before we get into Blu-ray releases is that Prey dropped over the weekend. It's got a 92% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's, as they say, the rare action thriller that spikes adrenaline without skimping on character development. Prey is a Predator sequel done right. We will have a podcast releasing later this week talking about Prey, so I hope you guys all see that. I have seen it, and fun facts, I loved it.
Oh yeah.
I am a huge Predator fan. My dad's
Same.
favorite movie of all time was Predator. And so I'm in that and Alien. I'm like obsessed with
Yeah,
as a kid, and I
both.
still am. I'm still
Same.
obsessed today. So
Yeah.
general
My dad's
thoughts, real quick. You like Prey, Luke?
Oh yeah, really enjoyed it. I actually have a review recorded, but I'm going to go back and re-record it because at the time I did not realize that he released the dubbed version the same time. So if you go on Hulu, there are two versions. There is just like this English version, but there is an entirely dubbed version in Comanche. So I do want to go and watch that version and then come back and re-record my thoughts on it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, the only thing I'm still kind of in question if I'm buying into or not is the kind of story change with the pistol. Spoiler, sorry. You know, there is an actual story on how the Predator and Predator 2 gets the pistol, and it seems that they're changing that within this.
Yeah, I
So I'm
mean,
just
again, yeah, they're totally going to ignore the comics. I mean,
yeah.
it's not, those are not canon. I mean, like not now anyway. So that was that
Yeah.
was to be expected, unfortunately. But when
Yeah.
I saw the pistol, I was like, oh my god, because I had just watched Predator 2,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
literally
same. I
the week
rewatched.
before.
Yeah, like a couple of days before I watched Predator and Predator 2 back to back to get ready for it. But yeah, like I'm a huge fan of Trachtenberg. Questioning, did you watch Totally Rad Show? Are you familiar with that?
No.
I feel like this is almost showing my age in a way. I don't know. I grew up. This is like before YouTube became YouTube. People were putting out YouTube-esque shows on their own websites, but the two big ones were Dig Nation and Totally Rad Show.
Gotcha.
And basically, what we're doing right now is Totally Rad Show.
It is a totally rad show, so yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but you need to go back and research Totally Rad Show. It was Daniel Trachtenberg, Alex Albrecht, who was also a co-host on Dig Nation, and then I'm kicking myself because I should know the third host, and I apologize because I'm a huge fan of his as well. But yeah, definitely go back because you can definitely see like they geek out over this stuff week to week, and just Trachtenberg, like I mean, he grew up on all this stuff. Like this is in his blood. Like so, I was very confident that he would do well with Prey, and he pulled it off. I do think if you look at his theatrical releases, I do think I prefer 10 Cloverfield Lane a little bit over Prey.
You're a crazy person, but continue.
You know, whatever. But I mean, he's done solid with The Boys,
Sure.
and all the other stuff that he's worked on as well. Yeah, Prey is good. I mean, it gets back down to the roots. Very simple story that focuses. You know, it. Yeah, oh man, it's great.
It's fun. I think and I'll talk about this in the review, is my only complaint was the redesign of the Predator in terms of like, I love his costume and like everything else.
Yeah.
I just think that they might have changed it a little too much for me. Like I love just the traditional thing. Again, there is other races of predators. There's, it's also
Sure.
hundreds of years before Predator come out, and when you see it, it's different. The mandibles are a little higher, the eyes are a little different. I mean, like
the
things like that.
Scrunched, like
it's a little different, and so like it still keeps the essence of Predator. And I get what they're saying; they want it to feel different and scary, and I respect all that. But I think as a purist, I was kind of like, I just wish it was a little closer to the original. But it doesn't take away from how great I think the movie is.
But the things I like about this is like, these predators, I believe, are supposed to be like younglings. They're coming in to learn, and I like the concept of like, I always like watching from the predator's perspective of like figuring things out. And like it's really cool in Prey because you can see that they're collecting data. Like this is very early on. They don't really know what's there. So they're collecting this data of like what's attacking me, what's attacking what are these things.
Yeah, I thought that stuff was some of the best parts of the movie is the Predator, the snake and the wolf and all, like him watching and like things not seeing him and him taking them out, and like the code of conduct. I loved all that kind of stuff. That's right up my alley, 100%.
Oh yeah.
I will probably watch it again this week before the podcast. So I mean,
watch the Comanche version.
I may do that actually. The only thing I wish they just recorded it all in Comanche instead of doing it English. Like I have a hard time watching that because it's going to be dubbed when they're speaking English, and I'm like, they should have just done that in the beginning. I get why they didn't because of mainstream people, I guess, but it's like they should have just done that. It would have made it probably even better, but whatever. Like I love it whenever the Frenchmen come and they're talking, and they're talking in French, and then like I like that. I'm like, that's how it should be. Like that should be like the whole movie.
Rethinking on that, I thought that was really smart because it's like there won't be anything dubbed there because like in this, I would expect, because it's like a whole different language, and it's like she doesn't know what they're saying, and so it's like it's like, I don't know who you are, I don't know that language, but like there's this thing out there and you need to get ready.
The most interesting like dub transition ever is in The Hunt for Red October. Sean Connery and them are like literally speaking Russian. And like I think it goes into like his mouth or something, a close up of his mouth, and also he start talking English, and it comes out, and like now all the Russians talk English the whole movie, and it's like that's how they describe us understanding what they're saying. It's pretty fascinating how they did it.
Kind of like 13th Warrior. Have you seen that one?
I haven't. That's also Richard Donner's 13th Warrior. Fun facts.
Antonio Banderas. So he basically teams up with these Vikings. And there is a moment where they're all around a fireplace, and he's just kind of sitting back in the corner. And the whole time he's clueless on what they're saying, because us as viewers have no clue what they're saying.
Sure.
But there's a moment where they're having dinner over this fire, and he's just kind of in the back corner, and he's just observing them and watching how they're talking, and basically teaches himself their language, and everything transitions over to now they understand each other. It's kind of cool.
I love it. I love when movies are like, "How do we get around this?" And they make interesting choices.
Well, his character is like a study of people and like and things like.
Gotcha. He's the fastest language learner of all time.
Right. It's a little crazy, but it's cool.
It is.
Anyway.
Our Blu-ray releases that are dropping tomorrow. Of course, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Blu-ray. It's already out on Paramount Plus, I believe. If you haven't checked it out, it's a great movie. It's in my top 10 of this year. The Best Buy Steelbook also releases tomorrow, and you bet your ass that mine will be in the mail probably sometime today. And then The Green Planet also is releasing tomorrow on 4K Blu-ray. Our 4K re-releases this week is Heat. There's a Best Buy Steelbook of that one. That's going to be a great grab. I'm trying to pre-order it, and I cannot get it at all, so I'm going to go to Best Buy tomorrow and see if it's there. If you don't know what Heat is, it's Michael Mann, guy who made Miami Vice in the 80s, and it's Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's first time ever on screen together in a scene. So it's a great movie just for that alone. It's got Val Kilmer in it. You should check it out. We also have Doom re-releasing on 4K Blu-ray tomorrow with The Rock and Dwayne Johnson, and of course Cal Urban, which I actually always liked that movie. I thought it was a fun adaptation. And then we also have Event Horizon coming out tomorrow from 1997. It also has a Blu-ray or Best Buy Steelbook as well. Luke, how can our listeners find you and all the cool things that you do?
Yeah, I can go to any of the podcast platforms and just search Agents of Mace, Marvel's Ace Content Enthusiast. Put out weekly content. We recently reviewed The Incredible Hulk in preparation for She-Hulk. And this week we're going to be talking about that was basically my thoughts on it. It was very underrated. I do enjoy that one.
Me too.
And we'll be talking about I Am Groot this week and just kind of our last, I guess, initial thoughts or preparations for She-Hulk that's coming out soon.
Cool.
So go check us out.
Yeah, of course, if you want more 2-for-1, you can always go to youtube.com/2for1studios, the best place to consume the content. Of course, you can always leave us a like and a subscribe. You can comment in the show below if we're live. Typically, we do the podcast and 2-for-1 Joe live now. Podcast, again, probably Wednesdays, Thursdays, and 2-for-1 Joe is every Monday at 9 a.m. Central. Again, every subscriber helps people find the channel, and we can do more cool things like this. Of course, we are on all podcast services with Podcast 2-for-1, Apple, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever. We're everywhere. Spotify, you can find us there. Luke, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate it. I'm curious. This was also our 25th episode of 2-for-1 Joe Live, so we have been pumping them out. Like, we're giving everyone the news, right? So we're trying really hard, and I hope people are enjoying the show, and I hope people continue to watch. Luke, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I will catch you next week.
Sounds good.